What is up, everyone? It's Quinn here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about some potential volume monster running backs that you guys may be able to draft outside the first few rounds. I feel like as the NFL continues to evolve, we're getting more and more committee backs. There's not as many, clear workhorse guys, and when we do get those workhorse options, they're getting drafted very early on in fantasy drafts. So it's tougher to find those large workload running backs in like the middle to late rounds. But that's what we're going to try to do in this video, pinpoint some running backs who have the potential to handle a massive workload, whether it's, a ton of carries, a ton of targets, a combination of the two. We're going to try to pinpoint some of those dudes who have that upside that are going as like mid-tier RB2s or later on in your fantasy football drafts. And let's just dive right into the first guy. And we have to start off with Alvin Kamara here. And I feel like it makes sense to go with him here. He's being drafted as the running back 17, and he's coming off a season where he averaged 13.8 carries and 6.7 targets per game. Now, I think I could definitely make an argument for why his volume should go down in 2024. He wasn't the most efficient back last year, maybe starting to slow down. He's getting up there in age a little bit. But this offense is also pretty much identical to what it was last year. You're looking at his competition. Jamal Williams was pretty much a non-factor in his first year with the Saints. 106 carries in 13 games, averaged under 3 yards a carry. And then you had rookie Kendre Miller, who I think is more live to kind of work into this offense. He struggled with injuries, played in 8 games, 41 carries, 11 targets. So you have a guy like Kendre Miller who could kind of cut into Alvin Kamara's workload. But we've also seen numerous examples of veteran running backs holding on to large workloads even after it looks like they're falling off. They're kind of past their prime. Teams are still willing to go out there, give them a lot of work year after year. I think James Conner was a prime example heading into last season. Like the Cardinals fed him in 2022. They didn't really switch up his competition. It was pretty much still a wide open running back room, and they fed him once again heading into 2023. Now, James Conner was kind of the one exception where he actually played really well and bounced back in his efficiency, but he still ended up being top 10 in opportunity share. I wouldn't be shocked if Kamara did the same thing. Also wouldn't be surprised if his workload started to fall off, but I mean, they force fed him last year. It wouldn't be crazy to see them do it again here in 2024. Also, probably going to be trailing in a lot of games. He's going to be involved as a pass catcher, even if his carries go down a little bit. Now, the next running back who I think has workhorse upside, could be a volume monster, is going to be Zamir White. He's being drafted as the running back 21, and at this price, he kind of just feels like an absolute wild card for fantasy football. Like, picking him at running back 21 could be disastrous. He could end up being like a committee member on a bad offense, or I feel like it could end up just being an absolute smash pick if he does get that huge workload. With Josh Jacobs gone, the running back 1 role is pretty much wide open, and Zamir White should have the inside shot to lock up that role. His main competition is going to be Alexander Mattison, who they added in free agency. But Madison was pretty rough last year, was not in on him throughout the season last year, wasn't really in on him heading into the year. He was negative 0.25 rushing yards over expected per attempt. He wasn't super productive as a pass catcher. Just all around didn't provide much for the Vikings, so much so that you had like Ty Chandler kind of eating into his workload. And last season, when Josh Jacobs missed time, the Raiders just absolutely force-fed Zamir White. Week 15, 17 carries, 4 targets. Week 16, 22 carries, 1 target. Week 17, 20 carries, 6 targets. Week 18, 25 carries, 2 targets. The lowest carry number he had in those 4 weeks was 17. The lowest number of opportunities he had was 21. So if the Raiders just end up carrying that usage over to 2024, that would obviously be amazing for Zamir White. I don't think you can bank on averaging 20 plus carries a game, but even if he, fell off significantly from that, he would still command a lot of volume, especially for his current price tag. And I think it's also important to point out that he wasn't just given the opportunities, he was also very efficient with them. So it's not like he was getting all these carries but was performing badly. Like, he was at 4.3 yards per carry, which isn't crazy, but the context matters here. This was not a good offensive line. He was 0.33 rushing yards over expected per attempt, sandwiched between Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor, so good company there. And a guy like Josh Jacobs behind that same offensive line on the same offense was at negative 0.37. So he really did produce when he got the opportunity. Like I said, I don't think he's going to carry that like insane workload he had over those 4 weeks where he was the starter, but I think he could still be in line for a very strong workload here as the RB1, especially if he's just able to straight up beat out Alexander Mattison. I think this Raiders team is going to want to run the ball. They're going to want to play physical, and I think Zamir White could be the guy to do that for them. And then the final running back here, who I think could command a lot of volume, this guy's being drafted as a back-end running back 3. It's going to be Devin Singletary going off the board as the running back 33. And a big reason why I think he can have a lot of volume is that this Giants running back room is just completely terrible. Like Devin Singletary being your RB1 isn't great, but I think the depth is even worse. You have Eric Gray, Tyrone Tracy, and Gary Brightwell as their running back 2, 3, and 4. All these dudes are day 3 picks. Gray and Brightwell haven't done anything in the NFL. Tyrone Tracy's a rookie this year. And Singletary hasn't been flashy in his production, but he's actually like kind of subtly put together decent production in 3 straight seasons. 100 plus scrimmage yards, 30 plus receptions. He's actually played 4 full seasons in a row, has not missed a game in 4 seasons, which is just insane, especially for the running back position. The Giants went out, they let Saquon walk in free agency, they signed Devin Singletary, and then they really didn't make any effort to bring in like a bona fide running back 2, which I think shows that at least the Giants have at least some confidence in Singletary being their clear running back 1 to handle a large workload. He has history with Daboll from Buffalo when they were both there together. So like I'm not someone who's all in on Singletary as a player. I don't think he's some sort of top running back option in the NFL, but he's making $6 million this season. His RB2, 3, and 4 are all round 5 picks or later. The odds of those dudes coming in and hitting in the NFL are not super high. So I feel like he has a very clear path to a strong workload. He is a very cheap price here, and he also can catch passes. So he can give you a pretty well-rounded workload. I feel like Devin Singletary is interesting here. At RB33, I'm not saying he's like a smash pick at this spot, but if you are looking for that upside, someone who can handle a large workload, no one going in this range, I think, has the workload upside of Devin Singletary without an injury, right? There are guys who may be in committee backfields where an injury, they have a large workload. Devin Singletary could just walk into a huge role within his current offense here with the Giants. So that's going to wrap it up for my 3 potential volume monster running backs: Alvin Kamara, Zamir White, and Devin Singletary. Guys who are going a little bit later on in drafts. You're not spending like a top 3 pick on these dudes, but they could end up bringing some really solid workloads to your fantasy roster. So thank you all for stopping by. If you want to add in a running back here, let me know who you think is going to have some sneaky volume. I'd love to hear it down below. But thank you all for stopping by, and I will see you in the next one.